friends, welcome to the channel. So today we will discuss the ideal transformer for no load case. Okay, so what is the working here and what will be the phasor diagram, that all concept we will see that, right? So now we will start with the continuation of the last lecture where we have discussed what is the working principle of a transformer. So we have seen that AC supply of V1 is supplying to the primary of the winding. Okay, so what we are getting here at the primary winding, we are getting the I1 current because of the V1. Okay, so as we know that V1 is of the sinusoidal nature, so current I1 whatever we are getting, that also will be of sinusoidal nature, right? So because of that, whatever MMF we are getting at this point, that will be also of sinusoidal nature. Due to that, we will get the flux which is circulating through the transformer core, that is also be of sinusoidal in nature, right? Now the flux which is linking with the secondary coil, so due to that link we are getting some EMF, that is called what, E2. Again that will be of alternating nature. Okay, and this is the EMF what we are getting for the output at the secondary side. Okay, so that EMF we have seen, that is equals to minus m d phi by dt according to the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So where when the flux is changing, so at that time we will get some EMF. Okay, so this is the concept and the complete lecture what we have discussed in the last lecture. So now we are going for the ideal transformer. So when we are working on the ideal case, that means we are having some specific assumptions. Okay, so what are those assumptions? The first assumption is that the internal resistance of the windings, whatever winding we have connected here at primary and secondary, that is the copper winding, simple copper winding. Okay, so we know that practically there will be some internal resistance with that copper winding. So in ideal case, we are neglecting that internal resistance of the primary as well as the internal resistance of the secondary. So that is my first assumption. Okay, now what is the second assumption? We have discussed that what are the different types of losses associated with the magnetic circuit. Okay, so here we can see this is the magnetic circuit where this is my transformer core which is utilizing for the magnetizing effect, right? So whatever losses associated with the magnetic circuit, what type of loss is that? That is the hysteresis loss and eddy current loss. Okay, so that losses has also been neglected for this case, right? And the third point, what we are going to neglect here, that is the leakage flux and fringing effect. Okay, what is the leakage flux and what is the fringing effect we have discussed. So that has also been neglected. And one more thing, that is the fourth assumption, that we are assuming that this transformer core has the finite permeability, or we can say that is constant permeability. Okay, so this is the main four assumption on which we are going to work. So on the basis of these all assumptions, we will continue our concepts about the working principle of transformer. So this all we have discussed in the last lecture. Now I have told you that because of the alternating flux, that is changing flux, we are getting some EMF and that is in continuous form at the secondary side. Okay, so this is the secondary coil. So now the flux whatever is linking with the secondary coil, the same flux is going to link with the primary coil also. It is going in a circular way, right? So when it is linking with the primary coil, so at that time what will happen? The same effect will happen whatever has happened with the secondary coil. That means what? We will get some EMF at primary side also. Okay, so here we will get some EMF E1. The same concept whatever we are saying for the E2, right? So here we have seen that by applying the voltage V1, we got I1 and then F1, that is MMF. Due to that, we got some flux, and flux is getting the value of E2, and with that, we are getting value of E1. Okay, so now we are working on the ideal transformer, and that too on the no load case. No load case means what? The load is disconnected or it is not connected. Okay, so here at the secondary side, we know that secondary is the winding available for the load connection. Okay, so here we can see that the secondary is kept open. It is not connected with any type of load. Okay, so what will happen? That we have not connected any load, that means the circuit is not completed. That means the current I2, whatever should flow from the secondary winding, that is 0. Okay, there is no secondary current. Now the case is what, that if we are not getting any output because load is not connected, so we are not getting any output. Okay, so if we are not getting any output, then why we are feeding the input? If output is not there, then input should be 0, right? If output is not there, then input should be 0. But still we are giving the input and we are doing some work, and after that we are getting output as 0. So where does the complete work which is getting from the input side is going? So that work is utilizing for what? That work, whatever current we are feeding here, that is utilizing for the magnetizing effect of the transformer. Okay, so whatever input we are taking, that is feeding the magnetizing effect in this magnetic circuit. Okay, so for this case, I will consider that I1 is what? I1 is the magnetizing current, that is IM. Okay, so for this case, when for the ideal case of the transformer, when it is connected with no load. Okay, so at that time, whatever primary current I am giving, that is utilizing for only the magnetizing effect. So I am telling it as the magnetizing current. Okay. So let's start with the phasor diagram, that how the phasor diagram should be. So first of all, whatever quantity we have to represent in the phasor diagram, that is V1 supply voltage, okay, then I1 supply current, and after that the E2, the EMF developed at the secondary side, E1 EMF developed at the primary side, and magnetic flux. Magnetic flux is also a phasor quantity, so we have to represent the flux also. Okay, and I2 is 0, so we need not to represent that. So first we will see that we have taken the I1 as I1. Okay, we have considered the complete primary current as the magnetizing current because it is used for the magnetizing effect of it. Okay, so first for the phasor diagram draw, what will I do? I will take a reference line. Okay, we used to take a reference line on which we will make the further diagram. So what we are going to use? Always we used to take the voltage as my reference. Okay, so here the input voltage is V1. So that voltage V1 I am going to take in the reference. So this is my reference point. Okay, this is what the phasor diagram of V1. Phasor for the V1 voltage. Right? So we have taken it as reference, that means at 0 degree. So now what? What we have to draw next? That is I1. Okay. So for that, I would like to draw first the line of or the phasor line of the flux. Okay. Because whatever magnetizing current I am utilizing, due to that complete magnetizing current, I am getting the flux phi value. Okay. And magnetizing flux phi is what? That is the magnetic effect. So always we know that the magnetic effect lags the supply voltage. Okay, lags the supply voltage by 90 degree. So this line will be always common, that the magnetic flux will lag the supply voltage, that is V1 by 90 degree. Okay, now what is IM? IM is the magnetizing current. This is the magnetizing flux. So both will be in same phase. So we can draw it like this. This is my phasor for IM. Okay, so we can see that complete current at the input side is utilizing for the magnetic effect. So because of that, we are getting 90 degree of phase lag with the V1. So IM is lagging the V1 by 90 degree. Right? So this is the case for these three components. Now what about the E1 and E2? So see, E1 and E2 is what? It is the induced EMF due to the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So we have told that this is the equation which represents my Faraday's law. So we have seen what is N, that represents the number of turns in the coil. What is d phi by dt, that is representing the changing in flux. Due to that we are getting the EMF. Now why we are having the minus sign here? Okay, so that minus sign is a very significant sign. So why that minus sign is there? So you may have heard about the Lenz law. Okay, so what is Lenz law? Lenz law says that whatever value we are getting, it will oppose its own cause. Okay, whatever value we are generating, it will oppose its own cause, and due to that opposing nature, we are representing with the minus sign. So here that minus sign is showing the Lenz law. That means the EMF, here we are developing the EMF, that EMF will also oppose its own cause. Okay, so we have to see that what is the cause of this EMF development. So EMF we are getting at E2 and E1, both are the development or induced EMF at the primary and secondary coils. Okay, so E2 is getting developed due to the what? Changing flux, right? So the cause is changing flux. Now why changing flux? So we are getting the changing in flux due to the MMF. If MMF is not there, then there will be no flux. Okay, we are getting the MMF due to the F1 is what? That is N1 into I1, right? So due to the current, we are getting the flux MMF, and due to the V1 supply voltage, we are getting the current. So ultimately, what is the main cause of the development of EMF at both the sides? That is V1. Okay, so if you will not give the supply V1, so there will be nothing and you will not get the EMF. So what is the main cause of the EMF induced at these coils? That is the supply voltage V1, right? So we know that according to the Lenz law, whatever is getting developed, that will oppose its own cause. So that means the EMF developed at primary and secondary, that is E1 and E2, will oppose its own cause, that means V1. Okay, so here I will write one more line, that is what? V1, that is equals to minus of E1. Okay, V1 that is equals to minus of E1. So we are getting E1 here, that is due to the opposing nature of V1. Okay, voltage V1. So these two equations are important. Okay, so if V1 is this, right? So I can say that this is the line for minus E1 also. Okay, V1 is this, then this is the line for minus E1 also. If this is the minus E1, that means what is my E1? So this is the phasor diagram, phasor line for the EMF at primary side, that is E1. Okay, similarly, we know that E2 also opposes the voltage, supply voltage V1. So here again the phasor line for E2 will be in same phase with E1, or we can say in phase opposition to the supply voltage V1. Okay, so here we can see E1 and E2 both are induced EMF and both are opposing the supply voltage V1. Okay, both are going in opposite phases, that means opposite, right? So this is the complete phasor diagram for a transformer working on no load condition. No load means there will be no output current, but we will get some value of E2. Okay, so this is the complete explanation for the ideal transformer case on no load, right? So hope you are getting the clear understanding. In the next lecture we will see what is the working principle for an ideal transformer on load condition, that too in different cases like resistive load, inductive load and capacitive load. Okay, so thanks for watching.